we were to work together again on 3 different shows, 3 different pilots, because he realized after a fashion that I was right about something.
I mean, my wife is down at the phone booth making a call, and she'll be back in a minute.
John Amos finally reveals the reason why he left Good Times. John Amos, born John Allen Amos Jr., on December 27, 1939 in Newark, New Jersey, emerged from humble beginnings to become one of television's most respected and groundbreaking actors. Raised in a working-class family, Amos learned the values of perseverance, integrity, and hard work from an early age, principles that would guide both his personal life and professional career. Before finding success in acting, Amos pursued several other paths, including a brief but promising career in professional football. After playing for the Denver Broncos and Kansas City Chiefs, his athletic aspirations were ultimately cut short by injuries, which forced him to reconsider his life's direction. This early setback proved fortuitous, as it led him toward the entertainment industry, where he would eventually make an indelible mark on American television history. The resilience he developed as an athlete served him well during the challenging early years of his acting career, when roles for African American performers were limited and often reduced to stereotypical portrayals that offered little depth or dignity. Amos began his entertainment career working as a comedy writer for shows like The Leslie Uggams Show, where he honed his understanding of narrative structure, character development, and the mechanics of television production. This behind-the-scenes experience gave him valuable insights into the industry and helped him develop a critical eye for scripts and storylines, a perspective that would later inform his approach to acting roles and his willingness to advocate for authentic representation. His transition to on-screen performance came gradually, with small roles that showcased his commanding presence, natural charisma, and ability to convey complex emotions with subtle expressions and carefully measured delivery. His first major television role was as Gordie Howard the Weatherman on The Mary Tyler Moore Show from 1970 to 1973, where he demonstrated his versatility and caught the attention of producers looking for actors who could bring depth and authenticity to their projects. The role that would define much of John Amos's legacy began when he was cast as James Evans Sr. on Good Times, a groundbreaking sitcom that debuted in 1974 as a spin-off of Maude, which itself was a spin-off of the landmark series All in the Family. Good Times focused on the Evans family living in a Chicago public housing project and striving to overcome economic hardship through love, unity, and resilience. As the hard-working, principled father figure, James Evans Sr. Amos brought dignity, strength, and moral authority to a character rarely seen on American television at that time, a devoted African-American family man who maintained his integrity and commitment to his family despite systemic obstacles and financial struggles. His portrayal resonated with viewers across racial and economic lines, creating a character that challenged prevailing stereotypes and offered a more nuanced representation of Black fatherhood and masculinity. The impact of Amos's portrayal of James Evans cannot be overstated, particularly in the context of 1970s television, when positive depictions of Black families were scarce. His character provided a powerful counter-narrative to the predominantly negative or one-dimensional portrayals of African American men in media. James Evans was hard-working, fiercely devoted to his family, moral principled, and determined to provide opportunities for his children despite the constraints of poverty and systemic racism. Through this character, Amos helped reshape public perceptions and expectations around Black family dynamics, highlighting the strength, resourcefulness, and dignity that existed in communities often depicted only through the lens of their challenges. The authenticity and humanity he brought to the role made James Evans more than just a character, but a cultural touchstone for discussions about race, family, and economic justice in America. Despite the show's popularity and the positive reception to his character, Amos's time on Good Times ended abruptly and controversially after just 3 seasons, when he was unexpectedly written out of the show, his character killed in an automobile accident off-screen. For decades, speculation surrounded his departure, with various rumors suggesting everything from salary disputes to personal conflicts with producers. The official narrative at the time offered little clarity, leaving fans and industry observers to draw their own conclusions about what had transpired behind the scenes. The abrupt nature of his exit and the dramatic way his character was permanently removed from the storyline rather than simply recast or explained away temporarily, suggested significant behind-the-scenes tensions that went beyond typical contract negotiations or creative differences. After years of speculation, John Amos has finally revealed in recent interviews the true reasons behind his sudden departure from Good Times. Contrary to long-standing rumors that he voluntarily left the show for better opportunities, Amos has confirmed that he was actually fired from the series. The core issue that led to his dismissal was not related to salary disputes or personal conflicts, but rather stemmed from his outspoken criticisms about the show's portrayal of African-American characters and family dynamics. As one of the few black actors in a position of prominence on network television at the time, Amos felt a profound responsibility to ensure authentic representation, something he believed the show was increasingly failing to deliver, particularly as it evolved past its first season. His concerns centered on what he viewed as the show's drift away from its initial promise of presenting a realistic portrayal of a black family navigating economic challenges while maintaining dignity and cohesion. Amos has explained that a significant point of contention was the show's writing staff, which initially included no African-American writers, despite the series focusing exclusively on a black family's experiences. This lack of authentic perspective led to characterizations and storylines that Amos felt missed the mark in representing the reality of black family life in urban America. He frequently challenged scripts and character developments that he considered inauthentic or reinforcing of stereotypes, pointing out to writers and producers elements that just don't happen in the community. When questioned about his insights, Amos would bluntly ask the writers, "How long have you been black?" highlighting the fundamental disconnect between the writer's room and the lived experiences they were attempting to portray. These confrontations, though rooted in genuine concern for authentic representation, created tension with the creative team, who were unaccustomed to having their authority and perspective so directly challenged by an actor, regardless of how valid his criticisms might have been. The most significant creative disagreement centered on the show's increasing emphasis on Jimmy Walker's character J.J. Evans and his catchphrase, "Dynamite," which became the series' most recognizable element. While this catchphrase and JJ's comedic antics helped make the show a ratings success, Amos grew increasingly concerned that the character was developing into a stereotype that undermined the show's initial premise of presenting a dignified, authentic portrayal of a black family. In Amos's view, too much focus was being placed on JJ's buffoonish behavior at the expense of more substantive storylines involving the other Evans children Michael and Thelma, who were portrayed as serious students with aspirations of becoming a Supreme Court justice and a surgeon respectively. Amos advocated strongly for more balanced storytelling that would showcase the intelligence, resourcefulness, and complexity of the entire family rather than relying on what he viewed as stereotypical portrayals for easy laughs. These concerns were shared by his co-star Esther Roll, who played Florida Evans, and who would later temporarily leave the show herself over similar issues. Amos has acknowledged that while his concerns were valid, his approach to expressing them was perhaps counterproductive. By his own admission, he wasn't the most diplomatic guy during his tenure on Good Times, and often voiced his objections in ways that created conflict rather than constructive dialogue. Born and raised in Newark and East Orange, New Jersey, Amos brought a direct confrontational style to his interactions with writers and producers that was at odds with Hollywood's more diplomatic approach to creative differences. In interviews, he has revealed that tensions sometimes escalated to the point where he would challenge writers to physical confrontations, saying, "Well, let's go outside," when creative disagreements became heated, an approach that understandably alarmed television writers who weren't used to that. His frustration with what he perceived as the show's declining authenticity combined with his forthright communication style created an increasingly untenable situation that eventually led producers to view him as a disruptive element, whose presence was complicating the production process despite his undeniable talent and the popularity of his character. The final breaking point came when Amos gave an interview to a magazine openly criticizing the show's direction. Shortly thereafter, Norman Lear, the legendary producer behind Good Times and many other groundbreaking television programs of the era, called Amos personally to inform him that while the show had been renewed for another season, "You won't be with us." This abrupt dismissal was a significant professional setback, but Amos has maintained that despite the personal and financial cost, his stand was necessary to maintain his integrity and his commitment to authentic representation. The decision to kill off his character rather than recast the role or write in a temporary absence reflected both the finality of the breach between Amos and the production team, and the recognition that James Evans had become so intimately associated with Amos's portrayal that replacing him with another actor would likely have been rejected by the audience who had embraced his authentic, compelling performance. The aftermath of Amos's firing had significant implications both for his career and for Good Times itself. Without the strong moral center and paternal authority that James Evans provided, the show's dynamics shifted noticeably. While Good Times continued for several more seasons, it never quite recaptured the balance and depth of the earlier episodes, gradually moving further from its original premise toward broader, more conventional sitcom territory. Ratings eventually declined, and many critics and viewers noted that the show had lost something essential with the departure of Amos's character. This outcome validated many of Amos's concerns about the show's direction, while also demonstrating his importance to its initial success and concept. For Amos personally, the firing could have been a career-ending setback, but his talent, resilience, and principled stand ultimately earned him respect within the industry, leading to other significant opportunities, including his Emmy-nominated role as the adult Kunta Kinte in the groundbreaking miniseries Roots, just a year after leaving Good Times. Over the decades following his departure from Good Times, Amos built an impressive and diverse career, demonstrating his range, versatility, and enduring appeal as a performer. Beyond his acclaimed work in Roots, he appeared in films including Coming to America, Die Hard 2, Lock Up, and many others, showcasing his ability to move between comedy, drama, and action genres with equal skill. His television work expanded to include significant roles on The West Wing as Admiral Percy Fitzwallace, The District, 2.5 Men, and numerous other series, establishing him as one of the most respected and accomplished character actors of his generation. Throughout this varied career, Amos maintained the same principles and standards that had led to his departure from Good Times, carefully selecting roles that offered dignity, complexity, and authentic humanity, rather than caricature or stereotype. This consistent approach reflected his unwavering commitment to responsible representation and his personal integrity as both an actor and a cultural figure, qualities that earned him the respect of colleagues and audiences alike across a career spanning more than 5 decades. What makes Amos's revelations about his departure from Good Times particularly relevant today is how they illuminate ongoing conversations about authentic representation, racial equity, and creative control in entertainment. The issues he identified and confronted in the mid-1970s remain significant concerns for performers, creators, and audiences today, as the industry continues to grapple with questions about who has the authority to tell certain stories and how diverse experiences can be portrayed with authenticity and respect. Amos's willingness to sacrifice a successful role and steady income for the sake of these principles established him as an early advocate for authentic representation, decades before such advocacy became more commonplace and accepted in Hollywood. His stand, which initially appeared to be a career setback, has over time been recognized as a principled position that reflected his understanding of media's cultural influence and his personal commitment to integrity in his work, even when maintaining that integrity came at significant professional cost. The story of Amos's departure from Good Times also provides important context for understanding the show's legacy and significance in television history. While the series is rightfully celebrated as a groundbreaking representation of African American family life that challenged prevailing stereotypes and opened doors for future programs centered on Black experiences, Amos's criticisms highlight the limitations and compromises that characterized even this pioneering production. The tension between commercial entertainment and cultural responsibility that he identified continues to shape media production and consumption, today making his experience relevant to contemporary creators and consumers of entertainment, who navigate similar tensions in a changed but still challenging media landscape. By sharing his perspective on these events, Amos provides valuable historical context for understanding both how far representation in entertainment has progressed since the 1970s, and how many of the fundamental challenges he confronted remain unresolved despite decades of advocacy and incremental change. As an elder statesman of American entertainment with a career spanning stage, screen, and television, John Amos has increasingly embraced the role of truth-teller and advocate, offering his experiences and insights to new generations of performers and creators. His openness about the circumstances surrounding his departure from Good Times provides not only clarity about a long-speculated television mystery, but also valuable lessons about the importance of authentic representation, creative integrity, and principled decision-making in entertainment and beyond. At a time when conversations about representation and inclusion have moved to the forefront of cultural discourse, Amos's experiences offer both historical perspective and contemporary relevance, demonstrating that these issues are not new concerns, but long-standing challenges that require continued attention, advocacy, and occasionally difficult stands on principle. His willingness to share his story after decades of relative silence offers not just clarification about a television controversy, but an inspiring example of principled decision-making that resonates far beyond entertainment, touching on universal questions about integrity, purpose, and the responsibility we all have to speak truth, even when doing so comes with consequences. Throughout his life and career, John Amos has demonstrated that success cannot be measured solely in terms of fame, accolades, or financial rewards, but must also account for integrity, purpose, and positive impact. His stand against what he perceived as inauthentic and potentially harmful portrayals of African American life on Good Times, though costly in the short term, established him as someone who valued truth and responsibility above personal advancement. In the decades since, he has continued to embody these principles, building a legacy defined not just by his considerable talents as a performer, but also by his courage, consistency, and commitment to authentic representation. As we reflect on his revelations about his departure from Good Times, we are reminded that sometimes the most important decisions we make are not those that advance our careers or increase our comfort, but those that maintain our values and contribute to positive change, even when such decisions involve significant personal sacrifice. In standing firm for what he believed was right, despite the professional consequences, Amos provided an example of principled leadership that continues to resonate and inspire both within the entertainment industry and beyond it, demonstrating the lasting power and influence of courage, conviction, and unwavering commitment to one's deepest values.